I'm Tony Ruiz, contributing editor at Gold Derby, here with Darren Mann, who plays Jack Dutton in 1923. And Darren, this character goes through such an arc over this first season. And I'm curious as to what you think is the biggest change between Jack at the beginning of the season versus the Jack we see in the finale.
Yeah, I mean, that was something that really attracted me to play Jack. And I was so excited about that, was that I got to go on this journey with him. And I think that's what's cool with the story of Jack is, these these most pivotal moments of his life, these watching his father die in front of him, seeing his uncle get shot up, the ranch is in dire straits right now. To see him go through this with us in front of us, I think is so neat. And to just get to live through those scenes as the character myself and just feel what that felt like, because it's so authentic the way we have our sets on 1923 too. When we're going up a hill, we're going up a steep hill. When there's 1,500 sheep, there's 1,500 sheep. 1,000 cows, 1,000 cows. So we're doing it for real. So to just get to live through these scenes through this year and the gold that Taylor had written for us, all of us, was so special. And I think, like a lot of the Cowboys who become quite, stern in their ways, I think Jack is definitely a little bit of his lightheartedness is probably been taken away from him due to the things he's had to live through and go through this year. But it's still inside of him. He's always going to have that spirit. I think that's just a huge part of him. And it's one of my favorite parts of him is that volcanic energy and his strong emotions for everything.
Well, I'm so glad that you said that, because one of the things about I've talked to people both on 1883 and 1923. I spoke to Brendan a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that always I find so fascinating about these characters is that it is in many ways the archetype of the male, cowboy hero. But with Taylor's scripts, there's always a degree of vulnerability and that cracks that masculine facade. Do you find that also in the writing?
Absolutely, definitely. And just there's just great moments where like emotions came up that I didn't even knew would. I can remember the scene with Harrison when I come out to him and he's sitting outside and he's been shot up and he's just kind of getting up and moving again. And I say to him that he got old. I never expected that scene to actually be as emotional as it was, but this life and his family and the ranch and everything means so much to him. And for him to suddenly be getting kind of thrust into now having to quickly become a man, and he's going to have to quickly learn to take the reins, so to speak, and grow up fast suddenly, was a lot for Jack. And I think we could feel that through the writing and those scenes that he gave us. And yeah, it was special.
Well, and you mentioned kind of the lived-in qualities of some of these scenes, and um, again, everybody I've ever talked to that's worked on a Taylor Sheridan project is that the atmosphere lends itself to accessing the emotion a lot easier.
Yes.
Does that make the experience just from an acting perspective much easier?
Yeah, I think whenever I can just be it's and not be acting, it always feels better. And I think Taylor's, I think he really believes in that. um if we're supposed to be in a certain situation, he wants us there. If we're supposed to be outside and it's freezing, we should be outside and it's freezing. And then you know what, you just feel it. We don't got to fake anything. We're really out there in Montana. So yeah, I definitely feel that through his sets.
The we always have to talk about the Cowboy Camp experience because
Yes.
people I've gotten such different reactions to this. What, what was it like for you in terms of the Cowboy Camp experience?
I absolutely loved it. I love riding horses too, and I love learning a new skill. So the idea that somebody's going to hire me for an acting job and I'm going to get to go somewhere and for the first 2 weeks they're going to teach me how to ride horses, like how cool is that, right? Like that's the dream life to me, is getting I'm getting paid to get to learn a new skill. How fun is that? But also, the thing that I found actually most beneficial was obviously the writing and the amazing teachers and instructors we had was there's no value you could put on that. But the time with my castmates, that was invaluable because a lot of times we get these jobs, pop on set, and it's like, well, welcome. Here's scene one, and this is your wife, by the way. You love her immensely, and she's about to die or whatever, you know. Uh, so to get to live in Cowboy Camp for 2 weeks and become great friends with these people, and to struggle with these people, taking ice baths at our house together because we're all so sore from riding all day. It was such a great way to start a job because then by day one, when we were on set, we were all great friends. We all had this great shorthand already. So I wish I could start every single job, whether there was horses or not, at a cowboy camp.
Well, and I think one of the your I read somewhere that one of your favorite stunts of the season was basically when Michelle Randolph and you kind of run to each other across the field. You're on a horse and she's running, and you jump off the horse kind of mid stride.
Yeah, yeah,
I heard that was one of your favorites. Tell me about it.
absolutely. It was. So Taylor, he wrote in quite a few little fun little cocky things that Jack likes to get up to. So I picked those out in the scripts, and I knew at Cowboy Camp, like, I've got to figure out how to like do a moving dismount, and I got to figure out how to hop on this horse, just like no big deal. So it was a lot of fun, and thankfully, our buddy Caleb Martin there, he worked with me quite a bit. And it took, it's like anything. That first jump is always the scariest, but with some good instruction, we figured it out, and it worked out great on the day. I had so much fun doing it. I just wanted to go over and over again because they were letting me open that horse up as fast as I could get him to go through the field. So I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
That you talked about these scenes with Harrison. You're working with Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, and you know it's very easy, I think, for as a younger actor to be intimidated by that. Were you intimidated, and how did they kind of put your mind at ease?
Yeah. So it's a funny thing for me because I was a hockey player. That's what I wanted to be. That was my die hard growing up. And I could probably today get put in a room with like Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin, and I would be like nervous and my palms would be sweaty. But with actors, I just like, yeah, whatever. I do what you do too. We're all humans. Of course, what you've done is absolutely amazing. I have a ton of respect for you, but yeah, it's all good. We're all in this, we're doing what we're doing. I can learn from you, but I don't know. I don't get intimidated by actors.
Well, that's also got to help in terms of this character who has this kind of this kind of out there personality and is full of life, and kind of is pushed into becoming like a bigger man than he maybe was before.
Totally. Yeah, it definitely helps having that inside of me for sure. I'm sure I take a little bit of that into Jack.
The relationship between Jack and Elizabeth,
Yeah.
or Liz, as he refers to her. How did you and Michelle Randolph work on that relationship? Because again, you talk about how you get together and as actors, and you have to build this kind of shorthand, but that relationship has to be believable for everything to work. So how
Yeah.
did you guys go about building that?
Well, we were really lucky actually because the day before I was set to take off for Cowboy Camp, I got our first call sheet. And I get the call sheet and I'm very curious, who is my love interest? Michelle Randolph. You got to be kidding me. We had done a movie 5 years previous together where we played boyfriend and girlfriend. And we had stayed in touch all these years. I just didn't happen to know that she was up for this part. So we had been great friends since. So the idea to get to work together was going to be easy. So we were really lucky that we had already done this before.
Well, yeah. Did you guys kind of develop your own little shorthand? How much did you talk about, the development of the relationship other than just what was on the page?
Uh, we talked a little bit about it, just kind of broad strokes. I'm a real firm believer, and I don't really like knowing any other actors' secrets. You know, I think that we don't need to know each other's secrets, and we can just show up, and it can blend together beautifully that way. I'd rather not know necessarily what's going on in their head.
Oh, I get that. The scene that I really wanted to ask you about is in the finale, uh, opposite Jerome Flynn, um, because your character is just simmering is not, you're like a pressure cooker in that moment. And I'm
Yeah.
curious, just emotionally, how you got into that place. Because you could see it how much you wanted to just
Oh,
explode on him.
I wanted to get him. I'll tell you, I did. He got me. Son of a gun. There'll be another year, Jerome Flynn. There'll be more. Uh, it's just living in the character, in the moment. You know, that what, son of a gun, shot my girl and he killed my dad and he shot my uncle. That's all that was going through my head the whole time. It was just that I just replaying those images from those scenes that we had shot, going over it over and over and over again, and that would just building a fire within me. And then I was just wanted to get him, and I told the cowboys around me to, really stop me. I'm gonna go, and if you don't stop me, I'm gonna get him. Yeah.
Is that something that's easy to turn off after they say cut? Or I mean, are you and Jerome able to go like have a beer afterwards?
Oh, totally. Definitely. Absolutely. He's such a nice guy. We did go have a beer afterwards because I think that was his last day. Yeah. And he took us all out for a beer, actually. Funny enough, Jerome, great guy. Uh, I think when I was younger, I had a harder time shutting it off, but I've definitely gotten a lot better with shutting it off.
What do you think it is about these particular shows? Taylor's such a unique voice in terms of not just the Western and really bringing the Western through multiple generations, but the way that these stories are so kind of grabbing. What do you think it is about these stories that audiences respond to the most?
I think that Taylor has a very amazing ability to write these old Western stories, but there's a lot of parallels to today, 1923, but I think in 2023, 100 years later, I think people are, with technology, for instance, there's that scene with me and the electric salesman on the street. I love that scene.
I love that scene so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, me too. And I thought it was such brilliant writing, and I think that a lot of us could totally understand today how we would feel the same. Um, yeah, yeah. So I think that's the beauty of his writing is that he's able to tell these old stories, but they're still relatable to us today.
Are you chomping at the bit to get back to Jack?
Yeah, I want to see what's going to go down. I really want to know. There's so many questions that I was hoping I'd know the answer to by the end of last season that I still don't, just like the audience. So I'm itching just as bad as they are to see the next script because I want to know what's going to happen.
Well, Darren, congratulations. A wonderful first season. Everybody go to goldderby.com, make your predictions for the upcoming Emmys, and stay tuned for interviews with more contenders throughout the season. Darren Mann from 1923, a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks so much for chatting with you. It's real nice.